Hey everyone, welcome to class. Today I want to go through a little routine that I use almost on a daily basis to deal with my sciatic pain or with sciatica. I know that a lot of people are suffering from this particular issue, especially if you are a runner. You might also suffer from something like piriformis syndrome or sciatica or both combined. And I am working on it to release those muscles actively on a daily basis, but at the same time I'm also working on opening my hips, and I'm following a daily routine that I really started to like doing on a regular basis, and today we are going to move through this little sequence together. So you can go ahead and you can do this every morning if you want. You can do it also in the evening before you go to bed to loosen up your hip area as well as your groin area, and it really helps to release stress in there. So let's get right started with that. So before we do anything really, we're just going to sit cross-legged in a cross-legged position. You can choose to sit however you want. You can sit in Sukhasana, in easy pose, or you can bring one leg in front of the other if that's available to you. If your legs are up here, that's perfectly fine. It does not really matter. Whatever level you are in, if you cannot sit like this, you can choose to sit like this, for example, also, or in the other way. But for now, let's just sit in easy pose. Make sure you bring your crown of your head towards the ceiling of the room, and just try to maintain a straight spine as well as a relatively straight lower back. Now the first thing I usually like to do is I'm going to do little circles to just get things started, to just loosen things up a little bit. And this really helps to prevent too much pain and like stinging sensation in the hip and the groin area when we start to get into the hip opening poses. So I found that this is really helpful for preventing this. We are basically just lubricating our joints a little bit before we dive in deeper. I usually breathe in when I go back, and I exhale when I go to the front. You can also mix this up a little bit if you want to. So when you move back, you can exhale and round your spine and round your upper back a little bit. And when you inhale, you extend your chest forward, you flatten your back, and then you repeat this process when you go back. You round the spine. So this is also a spine warm up at the same time. But choose to do whatever feels the best for you. And next time you arrive at the back, just get a straight spine, a straight back again. And then on the exhale, lay it all down forward as far as you can. If you can just go until here and support yourself with your arms, that's perfectly fine. Or if you want to just lie down all the way, whatever your hips and your back allows you to do. And just hang out here for a second. Take like two breaths here. And on the next inhale, come back up and come back to a straight spinal position. And then I had my right foot in front now, and now I'm gonna switch it up. So I'm gonna move the right foot to the back, and I wanna make sure that the left foot is on the front this time in easy pose. And then we do the same thing in the other direction. So we are doing some nice soft circles. And for me, personally, now my right hip is definitely bothering me more than the left side. So there's always a difference. Sometimes the left one is tighter than the right, or vice versa. So just keep doing those nice, big circular movements. I think the breathing here does not really matter. I found it to be quite natural. I think I said the opposite in the beginning of this video, which I realize now, but I think the natural way is especially if you do this movement, is to breathe in when you front and to exhale when you back, to empty your lungs, because you're kind of compressing the space there. But on the other hand, when you don't do this movement and you just do the circular movement, I don't think it matters. It's usually, I like to breathe out or to reverse it and breathe out when I'm coming to the front. Okay, a couple more rounds. Okay, and then when we arrive back at the center, straighten up your spine again. Take a nice deep inhale and exhale. And another nice and deep inhale. And on an exhale again, fold forward as far as you feel comfortable. Usually when I go deeper here, I can definitely feel my hips, especially in the groin area. I have a lot of, especially in the morning, kind of stinging sensation, and I can also feel it on my lower back or on the outside of my cheeks, basically. But this is perfectly normal, especially in the morning when your body is tight. And on an inhale, come back up to a sitting position. And now what we want to do next is we want to stack our knees over our ankles. And this can be quite difficult for a lot of you. It is certainly difficult for me. So you want to make sure first that you are grounded with your sitting bones, so both sitting bones are grounded on your mat. And as I said, this can be very difficult, so you might have to put a little pillow under the side of your bum that is like lifting, because once you put your leg or your ankle, and in this case I'm having my right ankle on my left knee, and then usually the knee that you have elevated, this tends to rise up your butt cheek a little bit. So try to make sure to at least feel the ground on both butt cheeks. The best is you are completely grounded equally on both of them. And then you want to make sure that you keep a flexed foot on both sides to protect your knees. And then you can play around with that, like how far you can bring your your left foot under your right knee. So ideally it's exactly positioned underneath, but I do understand that a lot of you cannot do this. So what you can also do is you can move this a little bit back. If you are familiar with pigeon pose, for example, this is the same principle here. So as much as your knee allows it, you should never feel any pain in your knee or any discomfort really, or pressure. Just be very aware of that, to not put any pressure on your knee. So always make sure you maintain flexed feet. And then as you progress, you can play around and you can move gradually more forward and bring your ankle underneath of your knee. Okay, so once you have that maintained and you are in a position where you can stand it for a moment, straighten your spine, lift the crown of your head up, and just stay here for a moment. Obviously, you can support yourself if you put your arms on the floor behind you, like so. And you can use this a little bit as a support. Now you also want to maintain a relatively flat lower back. The next level probably would be if you even just lay one hand on the upper knee or on both sides, it does not matter. And you will always already feel that there's a little bit more pressure going. So I feel it in my left hip right now, but of course also in my right thigh. And you want to be really gentle here, because this is quite a very strong and intense stretch for your hips. And once you progress a little bit further in this asana, then you can also work, of course, on, which is the goal in the end, is while maintaining a straight lower back, so don't round too much, you can just gradually walk forward using your fingers or your hands. You basically place your tips of your fingers on the floor, and then you give a slight pull, which automatically helps you to keep a straight spine, and it also brings you a little bit more forward. And then just hang around here for a little while. It's probably already very uncomfortable for you. It is definitely not comfortable for me, but this is a very beneficial pose, especially if you're dealing with sciatica. Now, if I do this routine myself, I usually stay here for anywhere between 2 and 5 minutes, depending on how high my tolerance is at this particular day. But for this first class, we're not going to take it that long. So wherever you are, slowly come back up. Take a deep inhale, straighten your spine, open up your chest. And then however you feel comfortable, you can take your leg with the help of your hands and just like move it down, because it can be difficult especially if you're longer in this position. And then just extend your legs in front of you for a moment, and you will definitely feel it on the inside in the groin area that it's not that easy to move those legs at this moment. But now, for example, I feel I have left-sided sciatica problem, so I definitely feel it kind of a little bit flaring up now, so I definitely activated this area now. And then what I like to do is I just shift my legs basically forward and back, like so. This helps to loosen it up, and then you can shake out your legs a little bit. Okay, there we go. Now you guessed it right, time for the other side. So bring your right leg in front of you, and then bring your left ankle over your right knee. And again, as you can see here, my left leg my left knee is much higher up in the air than my right knee was, or my right leg, so this is completely normal. We all have different kind of levels on each side of the body. One side is more open than the other. A lot of us have disbalances from working out wrong, walking wrong. And then again, keep a flexed foot, keep a flexation in your foot maintained, and then again try to position your right ankle of your right foot underneath of your left knee as good as you can, guys. It's really just do whatever feels achievable for you. And then again, when you are there, choose whichever position suits you the best, and just ride on that edge a little bit. For me, it's usually leaning a little bit forward to get a little bit deeper into it, but generally it's perfectly fine just to remain here, because as long as this knee is up in the air, you usually will feel the pressure or the effect just through gravity pulling it down. So take it easy in the beginning. This is a hard pose. And if you guys are interested, if you like this class so far, and if you hopefully like it on the end result, so to say, I'm planning to do weekly yoga videos again, so I want to do consistently one video a week now. Let me know if that is something you would be interested in. And also, let me know if it actually helped you, if it actually made your sciatica a little bit better, if it made it flare up, if it activated it. But this is a thing you have to do over a long period of time to really see the effects. Generally, working on opening your hips is a very good idea to do that on a daily basis, especially if you sit a lot. All right, slowly come back up wherever you are. Inhale, open up your chest and just feel the space that you have created, and then the leg. However you can get that off of you, and extend your legs in front of you, like so. Again, moving front and back And just shake it out a little bit. All right, so the next thing we want to do is to get into a little bit of a lizard lunge, and to do that, let's meet each other in a tabletop position. And while we are here, let's just make some little circles to loosen up our hip. I'm doing circles to the right side. Just a little bit, a little warm up. Okay, let's change direction to the other side. Those deep circular movements usually feel really good for me to get the blood flowing again after a longer stretch like this. And I don't want to make this too complicated, so I'm not including too many movements in this class. I want this to be something that you can do every day. Okay. And then once you are back in the center, come into a short downward facing dog. Pedal out your legs a bit. This also reactivates the blood flow. And I usually found this to be feeling very good after a longer hard stretch like this. Okay. We start with the right side, so in downward facing dog, lift up your right leg, extend it all the way to the back, and usually I like to open up my hips here for just a brief moment. Try to keep your shoulders in line, not to twist to the side too much. You just want to open up your hip and stack your hips. And then bring your right leg on the outside of your right hand for a lizard lunge, and then lower your left knee down and release your left ankle down to the floor. And when I'm here, again, we're doing some circular movements, and you can do that very, very gently and very slight movements. And you can also go ahead and, as you may or may not see, you can move to the outer edge of your right foot when you're circling. So usually my foot is pretty much grounded, but once I circle towards the right, I like to lift my foot a little bit to get deeper into the stretch of my hip. There we go. If this is too hard for you, you can also always move your left leg a little bit more forward. You can take blocks if you need to. You can get on your fingertips if the stretch is too deep, too tight. And then find stillness here. And now it's entirely up to you. You can stay here if that is enough for you. Or you can leave your left hand grounded on the floor. You can take the palm of your right hand and you can push slightly and gently your knee towards the outer edge, the outer right side of the mat, while at the same time sinking your left hip further down towards the floor. So you should feel a really good stretch on the left side of your hip, but also in the inside of your right groin, because you are pushing the knee outside. I usually like to stay here for a moment. You can also make this movement a little bit more dynamic, so you can kind of pulsate a little bit. I hope you can see this in the video. I'm just pulsing at the same time down towards the mat with my left hip, and at the same time I'm doing a little pulses on the inside of my right knee with my right hand. I found a lot of benefit in dynamic stretching, so I usually like to keep moving a little bit. Okay. Bring your right arm back down, and now again this is entirely up to your level. Adjust accordingly. Either you stay here or you take it down all the way to the floor. Now you can choose if you want to just bring your left elbow down towards the floor, or if you want to join it with your right forearm. Usually this is perfectly fine for me. A lot of you will get deeper than me, and a lot of you will also not get that deep. So wherever you are, it's perfectly fine. This is your practice. Just take it easy here. It's also a very deep hip opening. And we're not gonna stay too long in here. And then slowly move back up. Put more weight on your left knee, on your left leg again. Move your right leg towards the back and come back into downward facing dog. And now I can definitely feel my sciatica. But even I feel it during practice. After the practice, I always feel better. Pedal out your legs again a little bit. And then it's time for the left side. Raise your left leg up behind you and then again open up your hips, trying to stack your hips above each other while maintaining straight shoulders. Don't shift towards the side if you can. One more inhale, and on an exhale, bring your left leg on the outside of your left hand and lower down your right knee and lower down your right foot onto the mat. Same thing, circles. Let's start with some juicy little circles. And I also found this to be pretty helpful to open up your hip area and loosening your hips. At least for me, it helps with digestion too. So usually when I do this, I have better, or how to say, my digestion just works better. It's like activated. Stuff gets pushed around. Stuff gets lubricated. This usually helps me. Alright, finish with the circles. Again, completely up to you if you wanna put your arm or your left arm on your left knee and push it out a little bit while sinking deeper with your right hip, and do some pulses. It's probably very hard to see on the video because I'm doing very, very gentle and slight pulses here. It's really subtle movements, nothing extraordinary. All right, then again, go down wherever your level is. Either bring both forearms to the floor, find some length in your lower back. And you can also let your leg keep falling out a little bit to the side, to the edge of your foot if that feels right for you, or just leave it where it is. Find the edge, ride it. Ever so slight movements to make it a little bit more dynamic. It's like flossing, basically. You can imagine it as flossing your muscles, your tendons, your fascia. And then let's come back up and slowly bring your left foot back and come into a downward facing dog. Pedal out your legs once more. And you almost made it through the class. My original routine is longer, but I know that you guys wouldn't like to do something on a daily basis that is too long. So we start easy, and if there is any interest in the full routine, I will happily provide it to you. But let's start easy and not with a 1 hour daily practice. Okay, shift forward into a plank. Lower down your knees, chest and chin to the mat. Slide forward, come up into a little cobra to give some love to your lower back. Just hold it here for a couple of breaths. Two more. If you want, lift your hands up from the floor. And then sink down all the way to the mat, resting your forehead on your hands. And shake your head from left to right for just a little bit. That should feel pretty good right now. Place your palms underneath of your shoulders, tuck your toes, and on an inhale, strongly come up into a plank. Push back into downward facing dog. Back to plank. Bring your knees down, come back into tabletop position, and let your hips fall to the right or to the left side, whatever feels better. And bring your legs in front of you. Now we do, as a final position, we do a very juicy butterfly position here. This is what I usually like to do for extended periods of time. So if you feel this to be beneficial for you, you can stay in there as long as you want. I usually also do 3 to even 10 minutes sometimes, because it starts to feel really good the longer I do it. So you want to bring the bottoms of your feet together. You can also help your hands to adjust this whole thing here. And then, highly depending on your level, your feet can be in front here. If that's your level, that's perfectly fine. Or you bring it more towards your hip, your groin. I'm usually somewhere here in this range where it feels still comfortable. Important is that you can maintain a straight lower back, at least for a little while, and that both of your sitting bones are grounded on the floor. Now you can hold your feet together if that helps you. It gives usually a little bit of stability, and then just leave your knees to drop down naturally to the floor. You also want to a little bit tilt your pelvis forward. So you don't want to be like rounded or sacking. You want to keep a straight spine and then tilt your pelvis forward a little bit. So you want to bring your chest out, and you can help yourself to pull yourself forward and stabilize yourself a little bit better if you are pulling on your feet while bringing your chest up. This automatically generates a pretty straight lower back. Now you can add some movement in here, and I sometimes do that, so I'm whipping with my knees up and down. But I'm not doing this for prolonged periods of time, but this usually helps to loosen up some areas a little bit. And I'm just doing this for a couple of breaths. All right, and then I like to lean forward. Now there are multiple ways on how to do that. You can either do it again by just placing your palms on the floor and pulling yourself forward while maintaining a relatively straight lower back. This is one way to do it, and the other way to do it is that you round your back and you really go deep down. So you can pull yourself on your feet, and you can use your elbows to press against your shins, and at the same time you can push with your with the back of your arms, with your triceps. You can push towards the shins, and this helps you to get a little bit more forward, and as well helps you to push the feet a little bit down. So do it really gently, because this is a deep and intense stretch. I usually like to be here, as I said, for longer periods of time. So I'm having a book in front of me sometimes, and I'm just reading and hanging out here, because I feel like if I'm longer in this position, then I feel really how my lower back is opening up and releasing some tension that is deeply in there. Same goes for my hips. We just stay for a couple more breaths here. There's many more things I do on a daily basis to open my hips, because I have so much tension in my hips from sitting for years and years. It already got a lot better, but I'm still having very tight hips, even I do quite a bit of yoga. So I'm probably doing up to 1 hour every day of just hip stretching and long time lying on the floor in certain positions while reading or listening to podcasts. It is quite astounding how you can mess up your body just by sitting. So I'm actually started to only using a standing desk, and if I want to sit, I have a low table where I have my laptop on to work from Sukhasana or from a cross-legged position from the floor, which makes me feel much better, more energized, and it also prevents me from getting stiff again after sitting 8 hours a day on a desk or in front of a computer. So it's really important that you not only stretch, but you also figure out what caused the tightness in the first place. And now for me, my lower back starts to release a little bit. Take one more deep breath in here, another breath out, find a little bit more space. And on the next inhale, come back up. And slowly bring your feet up and back together. Hug your knees and shortly rest your forehead against your knees. All right, guys, well done for today. Extend your legs in front of you on the mat. Give a little bit of space. Put your heels on the edges of the mat and then slowly come down and get ready for your final relaxation, Shavasana. Allow some airflow towards your armpits. Leave your feet completely relaxed. Maybe lift up your head a little bit and create more space for your neck. Let your palms face upward. And then thank yourself for taking the time today to do this practice, to do something for yourself. In those days, it is crucially important that we take a portion of the day aside, not to read news, not to read what's going on the planet, but to take time for yourself, to reflect, to feel what's happening inside, and to deal with it and not to shovel it down and distract yourself even more. All those things you are not dealing with, they get stored inside of you. And if there's too many things in there, then it will be very, very hard to deal with it if you run out of space. I will let you here in Shavasana. You can stay as long as you want, take your time, have a rest. If you feel like you want to sleep, just sleep. Just let the body do what it does best. It makes the decision for you. You don't need to think too much about it. Just give in to whatever your body wants now. I thank you for joining me in this class, and I hope to see you back in the next one. Thank you very much. Namaste.